Welcome to tonight's live Shawn Thinking Out Loud. Got a lot of stories to talk about. Went through Google. You got a bunch of. Well, I was watching like Tim Pool and a few other people today, and of course I got some news from Brazil. It's tied to Trump, by the way. Hold on. Which I did not a short, but a recorded one today, just so they had the overdub language thing. Oh, I just had. Now I keep asking the same question to the loony left. If Trump is on a list that supposedly exists, then why didn't Biden release it and win the election? Nobody can seem to give me an answer. I get called a lot of names, but nobody can seem to give me an answer other than Biden didn't want a political. I'll get to that. Never mind. That one is just over the top. I shared it earlier in a picture, but why is there no data? Showing no data. What the fuck? Yeah, it's showing like it says no data. Seems to be there's data. All right, whatever. It's Facebook. I don't know. Anyway, drop a message in the chat so I know you're here. But yeah, they're and I'm tired of seeing AI created pictures of Trump and Epstein. We all know Trump and Epstein knew each other. But then again, Epstein knew the Dalai Lama too, so what's that mean? There's more credible evidence on Bill Clinton than there is on Donald Trump. Also, did you hear about, let me look that up. I want to read, let's see, Google. Gotta go to Google. Birthday, I want to read, which I think, because who was reading it? I can't remember who was reading it. Well, that's because Mimi's in there. My wife's talking to me about, I left my cat likes to go into the bathroom and hang out. I don't know what it is. She likes to sink. But, from the AP, Associated Press, Trump administration seeks release of Epstein grand jury records, but not Justice Department files. So all these, so I guess witness statements aren't going to be good enough. Under intense pressure from President Donald Trump's own supporters, his administration now says it will push a court to unseal secret documents. Why are they secret? Technically, once the case is over, they should be public record, minus the videos, obviously, and victims' names. But this should be in the news. That's the way I look at it. So there's some highfalutin people in the middle of this. But anyway, let me finish. But even if those records become public, it's far from certain they will appease critics enraged over the administration's unfulfilled promise of full transparency about evidence against the wealthy financier. Meanwhile, the administration remains dogged by questions about its refusal to release other records in its possession after stoking conspiracy theories and pledging to uncover government secrets of the deep state. I don't need to uncover secrets of the deep state. It's called the bureaucracy. Nobody wants to lose their job, do they? Here's a look at the ongoing Epstein file controversy and what may happen next. How the case got here. Trump is desperately trying to turn the page on a crisis that has consumed his administration since the Justice Department announced last week that it would not release any more evidence about the sex trafficking investigation into Epstein, who killed himself behind bars while awaiting trial in 2019. Latest development came Thursday when the Wall Street Journal described a sexually suggestive letter that the newspaper says bore Trump's name and was included in a 2003 album for Epstein's 50th birthday. Trump denied writing the letter, calling it false, malicious, and defamatory. I heard the letter. Oh, that ain't Trump. Shortly after the story was published, Trump said he had directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. That's the stuff that got what's-her-name put in prison. The scam perpetuated by the Democrats should end right now, the president wrote on social media. Bondi then announced that the Justice Department would move Friday to ask the court to unseal the grand jury transcripts. That doesn't mean that the court has to say yes. So think about that, folks. Courts are typically reluctant to release grand jury materials. Grand juries decide whether there is enough evidence to bring an indictment or a formal criminal charge, and their proceedings are secret to protect the reputations of people who end up not being charged and to encourage reluctant witnesses to testify. Grand jury transcripts, which would show the testimony of witnesses and other evidence presented by prosecutors, are rarely released by courts unless they need to be disclosed in connection with a judicial proceeding. In fact, grand jury secrecy is such a sacrosanct principle under the law that government officials who improperly disclose testimony are subject to prosecution. Witnesses are not bound by those rules. Even with the Justice Department endorsement, it could take weeks or months of legal wrangling to decide what can be released and how to protect witnesses and other sensitive victim information. And it's unlikely the transcripts would shed any light on major fascination of conspiracy theorists obsessed with Epstein's case, the financier's connection to other powerful figures whom some believe were involved in Epstein's sex trafficking scheme. Courts have blocked the release of grand jury materials and other high-profile investigations. House Democrats in 2019 sought grand jury testimony from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation while Congress was conducting its impeachment inquiry into Trump, but the Justice Department successfully fought for years to keep the material secret. The administration could release other records right now. The Justice Department's decision to seek grand jury transcripts gives the administration a reason to point at the courts to explain why more material has been released, but the uproar over Epstein's files was never about the grand jury transcripts. It was about thousands of other pages in the government's possession that the administration now says it won't release. Facing outrage after the first release of Epstein files flopped in February, Bondi said officials were poring over a truckload of previously withheld evidence. She said it had been handed over by the FBI, but after a months-long review of evidence in the government's possession, the Justice Department determined that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. So you're going to get not going to get much more than a redacted grand jury if they release it. But this is strategic. Now the courts can say, no, we're not releasing it. Just like Pam Bondi. Where did I put that? Let's see. Epstein's lawyer says there was no client list and sets record straight on Trump. Nothing improper, ever questionable. Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer has claimed the convicted sex offender never created a client list and said there was no suggestion that President Trump had done anything improper or even questionable. In an opinion piece written for the Wall Street Journal, famed attorney Alan Dershowitz said he knows the facts and wanted to make several important things clear in a political firestorm over FBI files related to the late disgraced financier. Epstein never created a client list. The FBI interviewed alleged victims who named several clients. These names have been redacted, Dershowitz wrote. So there is no client list, according to Dershowitz, who was wrongly accused of being on some list that supposedly existed. So, and I keep asking, I keep asking loony leftists. Hold on, I got it here somewhere, and it's actually kind of funny. Here it is. I go. If Trump were on the list, why didn't Biden release the list and win the election? Slam dunk compared to the bullshit they made up, right? Here's the person's response. Because Biden wasn't going to make the whole DOJ and FBI political, which is what Trump would have said. It was even though nothing ever came of it. Biden had sense to not prosecute for the betterment of government, nothing else. And I was in shock. I can't even believe he said something so stupid after all the shit they made up. And I told him that too. I'm in shock. I didn't know anybody could be that fucking stupid. to even say something like that. So there is no, according to Dershowitz, who is, I guess, he was Epstein's lawyer, maybe? That's what it said in the headlines. Epstein's lawyer said there was no client list, which people, I'm sure, some witnesses in that grand jury testimony testified to who was there. Again, it keeps coming back to that. I'm thinking, intelligence agencies, and I'll tell you why. Who haven't we heard from? Pelosi. Who's that other douche? Schiff. We haven't heard from his top enemies at all. You want to know why? Because they know who's on that, who participated, and they also know that. Let's say it was Intel, an intelligence agency running an op. Well, he was doing it for 25 years. How many presidents would know about that operation? 4, 3, 4, 25 years. Let's go back 25 years. See? So there's actually more credible evidence against Bill Clinton than Donald Trump. So you loony leftists can stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Good news today. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to end in 2026 as CBS cancels show. Cancellation comes a few days after Colbert criticized network parent company for settlement with Trump, which he called a bribe. I'm extremely sad. Celebrities wrecked at the end of the Stephen Colbert show. Does anybody watch that show? I watched it, or tried to, twice. He wasn't funny. Sorry, he sucked. Basically, it was leftist propaganda trying to be funny. And he's funnier than most leftists, but not that funny. He's not a... who's that? Gutfeld. He's not a Gutfeld. Of course, Gutfeld has a panel, which is cool. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert has been canceled and will end in May, with network CBS announcing it will retire The Late Show entirely after a 33-year run. Yes, he is not David Letterman. Never will be. Nobody will be David Letterman. They should have retired it after Letterman retired. Period. The news comes just a few days after Colbert criticized the network's parent company, Paramount, for settling his lawsuit with Donald Trump for $16 million over the U.S. president's claim that CBS News deceptively edited an interview with then presidential candidate Kamala Harris, which they did. So it was not. It was because they actually came out and showed the real interview. Okay. The settlement coincided with Paramount seeking approval from the U.S. Federal Communications Commission for an $8.4 billion merger with Skydance Media. Colbert called the settlement a big fat bribe. By the way, that merger was started under Biden, not under Trump. As the audience booed, he said, "Yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of a show, it's the end of the Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going to go." Well, way to kill it, bud. It's all on you. When you piss off half the country, which David Letterman never did. David Letterman was a champ. Oh, I think I already did this story. Oh, yeah, Dershowitz. But, yeah, David Letterman, he killed that show. It's not politics. It's not, the merger was started before Trump was in office, you fucking idiots. So, everybody's coming out, oh, it's just a bribe for Trump. But then why didn't they bribe Biden? Because that's when it started. Because their ratings were sucked because they didn't have Trump to beat up on. So they were looking to merge while Biden was in office because there was no more Trump. They tried to use Trump, but it didn't work out because he wasn't president, and Biden was basically old pudding brain. Like, they could have made some really great jokes about Biden. I mean, the guy shit himself in front of the Pope. Come on, if that doesn't scream joke, I don't know what does. Then I did a recorded one earlier on this one, all because of Trump. But Brazil it's still going to suck for Brazil 50% tariffs. You all enjoy that. That's what you get for electing a retard or retards. Brazil court orders raids, restraints on Bolsonaro for Trump collusion. Would that be like when Biden diverted chips that were actually slotted for the military from Taiwan to Brazil for their voting machines, and then sent the CIA and military complex down here to tell Bolsonaro to shut up? Would that be that type of collusion? I'm asking for a friend. Brazil's Supreme Court issued search warrants and restraining orders against former President Jair Bolsonaro on Friday, banning him from contacting foreign officials over allegations he had courted the interference of U.S. President Donald Trump. Federal police raided Bolsonaro's home and put an ankle monitor on him, an escalation in legal pressures he is already facing and that Trump has tried to relieve with a steep tariff on Brazilian goods. Bolsonaro told Reuters that he believed that the court orders were a reaction to Trump's criticism of his trial before the Supreme Court. Well, how much? $26 billion a year Brazil trades with the U.S. $26 billion. Now put 50% tariffs on that. And I get idiots going, well, hold on. Well, then they'll just go to China and Russia. Okay. Cuba trades exclusively with China and Cuba, or China and Russia. How's it going for Cuba? America is the largest economy in the world, period, bar none. But these tariffs aren't due to trade imbalance because America makes we're pretty much equally trading with Brazil. This is about, which I'm not for interfering in. That's why when Biden did what he did, I was pissed. Hey, whoever wins, wins. And they did it in '64. I wrote a book on it. The political history of Brazil. Yeah, 1964. That's why they had a military dictatorship until 1985. The CIA interfered in their government. And, yeah. Because they were afraid of communism. The totalitarianism of communism. So they would prefer the totalitarianism of the military. Do you realize that I'm older than Brazil's constitution? I'm actually older than the city I live in. Rhodonia, Araquemes was, I don't know if they call it incorporated, but incorporated in 1976. I'm literally 8 years older than the city. And their constitution wasn't ratified until 1985. I was 16. Yeah. And then I've got these idiots online freaking out because I guess in ICE detention centers they give the detainees bracelets with numbers on them, and they're freaking out. They're like, bracelets with numbers, where have we seen this before? Cruelty towards humans in an abusive, dehumanizing manner. ISP facilities, short for Initial Service Processing, are where people are first taken after being detained. These centers strip individuals of dignity, track them like inventory, and hold them in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions while they await transfer, release, or deportation. Where is the empathy, the humanity? We are all someone's loved one's fathers, mothers, children, friends, family, and until it affects me, mentality. What? That's part of the problem. And I put, sit down, stupid. Soldiers use serial numbers primarily for identification and record-keeping purposes within the military. These numbers help track individual soldiers, manage personnel data, and ensure accurate accounting of equipment and supplies. Additionally, in prisoner of war situations, a soldier is only required to provide their name, rank, and serial number to their captors as stipulated by the Geneva Conventions. And then they asked me, have you ever seen this before? I was like, sure have. Inmates receive numbers primarily for identification and record-keeping purposes within the prison system. These numbers help prison staff track inmates, manage their records, and streamline various administrative processes. They are assigned upon arrival at correction facilities and remain the same even if the inmate is transferred to another prison. Yes, they're freaking out about criminals receiving numbers. Okay, I'll say it again because maybe it's not sinking in. They're freaking out because prisoners are receiving numbers. Oh, I can close those out because I already. Then where is that one on Tim Pool? And I watched his podcast or a clip of it. I don't watch all. I never watch a full podcast unless it's like Shawn Ryan or. Once in a while, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin ranch, because I was, I was into professional wrestling. Tim Pool's Cancel Culture Live event shut down by venue without warning, restored in one day. I guess it's restored now because he went on his podcast. He said he was going to sue him. By the way, in Washington, D.C., under, like civil rights or whatever, political affiliation is protected. So they cannot deprive you services due to political affiliation. Tim Pool, host of Timcast IRL and the Culture War podcast, is once again poised to bring a series of comedy debates to the DC Comedy Loft in the nation's capital with showtimes July 26th, August 2nd, and August 9th, following an abrupt cancellation, even deletion of the event by the venue. At Rapid next day about face the cancellation with reports claiming the cancellations were sent in error. Right. That's because he was on his podcast talking about suing him. Because Antifa said they were going to, here's an idea, hire armed security. And because a bunch of kids in back with masks who are complaining about ICE wearing masks, which that's something else I want to talk about. But yeah, Antifa threatened to, I don't know, do what they do, terrorists. And hey, does anybody else remember back in the day when we used to shoot terrorists? Wasn't that cool? But anyway, I lost my train of thought thinking about shooting terrorists. Yeah, in Washington, D.C., I guess in New York, too. He was looking stuff up online. I guess New York City, they can't deny you service because of political affiliation. Doesn't mean they enforce it. I mean, they don't enforce the Second Amendment, which is federal law. They don't enforce immigration laws. So laws are pretty much subjective to the loony left. But yeah, I guess Antifa threatened to do what they do, and they sent out, canceled, and took the event down off the website. And he threatened to sue on his podcast, which he has the right to do. I don't think it would have went anywhere, and I'll tell you why. It's Washington, D.C. Liberal courts. And to the loony left, laws are subjective. Same with rights. Rights are subjective. Whatever I want is a right. They'll just say it's a right. For example, abortion is a right. But everyone has the right to life. So you can't have it both ways. But they don't get that. That's a natural right, by the way, life. A natural right that everyone has, and there's no age limit, no time limit. It starts from the time you fucking exist until you die. But they don't get that. And I was listening tonight to my playlist on the Federalist. And we were talking about, it's Federalist 9, it's about factions. Minority factions was part of it. And you realize today we actually bow to minority factions. We actually kowtow to, if I say I'm a woman, you have to pretend I'm a woman, or you may get canceled. In certain states, if I want to play in girls' sports, I can. Why? Because then you'd be called a Nazi or a fascist. I actually don't. You're a fascist. Oh, I don't care what you say. If I cared what you said, hold on, I got to find that again. Did I? I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah, I did, didn't I? About the idiot with the Biden and not weaponizing the Department of Justice. I'm still in shock. I can't believe someone said that, and it was actually serious. I thought it was a joke at first. It had to be. And then I'm thinking about taking one of my books, just picking one, an audio book, and doing like a once a week reading. I'm not going to fucking read it, man. Some of those chapters are hard. But just giving one away. Well, I can delete them after I've done them, like live. And then, just give everybody something to listen to or something I've written. So, maybe it'll be the one on, the American left, from liberalism to despotism. I'm rewriting the one on Karl Marx, socialism, communism, I have 2 books out on socialism and communism. The Intellectual Journey, unraveling the complexities of Marxist, communist, and socialist thought in modern society. Which on Facebook I've had, who was it? One idiot said, "Oh, so what we have is much better," and I went, "Yeah, since I haven't had to eat my pets, yeah, much better. Because I live within driving distance of Venezuela. They don't have pets there. They don't have stray animals. Why? They're dinner. Now, the people that support the communist government eat pretty well, and that's the way it works. If you support oppressing your fellow citizens, you're good to go. That's communism. As a matter of fact, I love when the loony left say, "Oh, Marxism isn't communism." Then why did he title his book The Communist Manifesto, stupid? So I'm rewriting that book. I did one draft on chapter 1. It was 300 pages. I'm having to cut it down a little bit because even I was like, holy crap. And there's 6 chapters, so let's say each chapter was 300 pages long. That'd be 1,800 pages. No. I want to touch on the important stuff. The other book was written like a textbook. I took this class in college, and that's what I'm basing it on. I've read the Communist Manifesto. Now, his ideas might work except for one thing. Humans. Simple. Humans. Human nature. He talks about the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. Well, all your trading, the proletariat is the workers, and the bourgeoisie is the like factory owners and property. All you're doing is trading one bourgeoisie for the other. You're trading private factory owners and stuff for the government. They're both going to fuck you over. It's just in capitalism I can negotiate wages and stuff, where in socialism you can't. You could try. Good luck with that. The last 100 million people have tried and didn't work out well for them. Actually, I talk about the Gulag system in the book. So maybe I may do the old one and then let you, and then when I finish the new one, the second edition. And then the loony left is upset that I keep sharing this article I wrote, and I researched, by the way. There are sources out there that they're poorly educated but totally indoctrinated. And then when I share that, guess what they do? They just babble all the stuff that they've been indoctrinated with over and over. That's all they do the whole time. Just validating the article. Well, no one's popped in, so I'm going to end this and maybe go over and maybe make a phone call to my family, because my wife, mother's been sick. To a group. I do a group chat, and if nobody picks up, I don't bother people. I don't bother people. If they don't want to talk to me, I don't force people. I don't care. I'll do a live video or whatever. So, peace out, people. Next week, next Friday, 6 p.m. again, the Federalist paper. The Federalists. Here, let me tell you which one we're doing next. Because I did not do all 85. I did the ones that pertain to the government's composition, functioning, and the checks and balances system that, because a lot of them are redundant. We'll say redundant in that they just reinforce what the let's see which one. Let me find it. Next week, 6 p.m. we did Federalist 9. Next week is Federalist 10. Hold on, I'm gonna. This one is Federalist 10, written by James Madison, argues that a large republic is the best form of government to control factions and prevent tyranny. Not when you bow down to minority factions. Like Madison defines factions as groups driven by shared interests that can threaten the rights of others. He asserts like freedom of speech, like I can't say this dude is actually a dude when he's a dude because he has a dress. See what I mean? He asserts that a diverse society with many competing interests will dilute the influence of any single faction, making it difficult for them to dominate. By extending the sphere of the republic, a larger population will create a variety of opinions and interests, ultimately promoting stability and justice. Thus, a well-structured government can manage the effects of factions while safeguarding individual. Except we have a fourth branch of government now that is perpetuating the faction, called the bureaucracy. So, why does that say it's only been on for 34 minutes? Yeah, maybe it has. I have no concurrent viewers, so I'm not going to hang around when I don't need to. But I'll upload this for the Portuguese overdub tomorrow. So I'll say peace out, and I'm going to go over and see if I can talk to some family members.